Africa, the cradle of humanity, holds a story older than any other continent on Earth. Today, as we look back on African history on this very day, we are reminded that this continent has been the silent witness to countless triumphs, tragedies, and transformations. Often overlooked yet foundational to the story of humankind, Africa is home to over 3,000 ethnic groups and more than 2,000 languages, each contributing to a tapestry of culture, knowledge, and resilience. The continent is the second largest in the world, covering more than 30 million square kilometers, and it boasts the youngest median population, sitting at around 20 years old. Compare this to other continents, where the median age hovers above 30, and we begin to understand why Africa represents not just history, but the future. Africa has given the world astonishing biodiversity. The tallest and largest land animals roam its plains, the fastest runners sprint across its savannas, and its rivers nurture species found nowhere else. It was home to the wealthiest man the world has ever known, Mansa Musa, whose legendary pilgrimage to Mecca in the 14th century remains unmatched in its display of wealth and influence. Fossils scattered across the continent tell tales that span millions of years, from Sahelanthropus tchadensis, dating back over 7 million years, to Homo sapiens, emerging roughly 350,000 years ago. Africa is undeniably the birthplace of humankind. Around 50,000 years ago, our ancestors began the famous out-of-Africa migration, spreading across the globe, bringing with them the seeds of civilizations yet to come. The Sahara, now a vast desert, was once a lush green landscape. Around 5000 BCE, it began to dry, and by 3500 BCE, shifting Earth axes and climate changes transformed it into the inhospitable desert we know today. This monumental shift pushed early humans toward the fertile Nile Valley, laying the groundwork for one of history's most remarkable civilizations. Before the dawn of agriculture, hunter-gatherer communities thrived, domesticating cattle, goats, and donkeys. These early steps in agriculture would eventually feed civilizations that left legacies we still admire today. It was along the banks of the Nile that Egypt emerged, a civilization with an independently developed writing system. Egypt's first pharaoh rose to power around 3100 BCE, establishing what would become one of the longest-lasting and most influential civilizations in history. From monumental pyramids to complex governance systems, ancient Egypt became a beacon of innovation, culture, and power. North Africa, Carthage, and the Mediterranean connections. North Africa has always been a crossroads of civilizations where cultures converged, clashed, and combined. After Egypt's long and storied history, the region would fall under the rule of the Achaemenid Empire, with the Persians controlling the Nile Valley. But in 332 BCE, Alexander the Great arrived, welcomed as a liberator. His conquest didn't just subdue Egypt, it toppled the Persian grip on the region and reshaped the political landscape of the Mediterranean. Following Alexander's death, the Ptolemaic dynasty ruled Egypt, merging Greek culture with Egyptian traditions. It was during this period that Egypt flourished as a hub of knowledge and trade, with the Library of Alexandria becoming a beacon of learning, attracting scholars from across the known world. To the west, along the northern coast of Africa, another power rose, the Carthaginians. Settled in what is now Tunisia, the Carthaginians were descendants of Phoenician traders, known as the Punics. Masters of the Mediterranean trade, they built a wealthy and powerful city-state that would rival Rome itself. Carthage's strategic location allowed it to dominate trade routes, amassing wealth and influence that made it one of the ancient world's greatest powers. But rivalry breeds revive. Rome, rising from the Italian peninsula, saw Carthage as its primary obstacle to Mediterranean dominance. The result was a series of brutal conflicts known as the Punic Wars. Hannibal, one of history's most brilliant military minds, crossed the Alps with elephants, striking fear across Rome. Yet, despite his genius, Carthage ultimately fell, and Rome destroyed the city, leaving only ruins where one of Africa's mightiest civilizations once stood. North Africa would not remain under local rule for long. It became part of the Roman Empire, organized as the province of Africa Proconsularis. During this time, the region witnessed remarkable urban development, agriculture, and integration into the vast Roman network of roads and trade. Remarkably, Septimius Severus, born in Leptis Magna, became the first Roman emperor of African descent, bridging Africa and Europe in a legacy of imperial influence. By the 1st century CE, Christianity began spreading across North Africa, especially in regions close to Judea, such as Egypt, Nubia, and the Aksumite Empire. The faith grew, adapted, and endured despite challenges, laying the foundation for centuries of religious and cultural evolution. Yet by the 7th century, Islam swept through North Africa, introduced by Arab conquerors. The Berbers, indigenous to the region, embraced the new religion, blending it with their own traditions and establishing networks that would influence trade and governance for centuries to come. Meanwhile, along the western and central parts of Africa, communities were building complex societies independently of Mediterranean influence. Agricultural innovation was taking place among the Mande-speaking peoples, who cultivated crops, raised livestock, and developed urban centers like Gene in Mali. These societies were self-sufficient, organized, and thriving, laying the groundwork for some of Africa's most famous empires to emerge centuries later. Around present-day Nigeria, the Nok culture flourished, as early as 1500 BCE, creating terracotta sculptures that remain some of Africa's most iconic archaeological treasures. Across the continent, cities like Gene in Mali, settled around 300 BCE, grew into urban hubs of trade, culture, and governance, demonstrating Africa's capacity for independent urbanization and civilization building.